In the middle of the storm.
Okay, it is recording.
All right, thank you, Brian. All right, Val, can you go ahead and please call the roll?
Commissioner Penny?
Here.
Commissioner Curry?
Here.
Commissioner Daniels?
Here.
Commissioner Johnson?
Here.
Mayor Diaz?
Here, and I want to welcome everybody to the January 9th, 2024 City Commission meeting. I want to remind you to silence any electronic devices that you may have at this time, and I'll ask you all to please stand for the invocation led by Commissioner Roy Johnson and continue standing afterwards for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Do I need this microphone to?
Sure, if you want, or loud, whatever you want.
Well, it's the first of a brand new year, and we can all thank God that He brought us into a new year. He's carried me for 84 years, and 84 of them I'm sure I didn't deserve. But I will say a prayer tonight that Jesus Christ's own disciples asked Him how they should pray, and He said, this is how you should pray. Although He told His disciples to pray this prayer, He could never pray it Himself, which He says, Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be Your name. Your kingdom come, Your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our sins as we forgive those who sin against us. Lead us not to temptation, but deliver us from evil. For yours is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. In the name of our Lord Jesus Christ, our risen Savior. Amen. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Commissioner. Now the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Commissioner Johnson. Now, before we start and go to public comments, just for the public's knowledge, a quick note. Our City Manager, Joe Forte, could not be with us here today due to a family thing. So we have our newly minted Assistant City Manager acting as the City Manager today. And I just want to say congratulations to you, Brian. I know I speak for the whole commission on saying congratulations over the break. You were given the title of Assistant City Manager. Well earned. You are such a hardworking man, and we appreciate your service to the city. So welcome to the dais tonight. And with that, we'll go ahead and start our public comments. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak to the commission about anything not on our agenda tonight? Heidi, are you getting ready to come up?
No.
All right, we're good. I see no one from the public that wishes to speak, so I'll close public comments. And we will move to number 3, which is the approval of the minutes. We have the minutes from the December 12, 2023 workshop and December 12, 2023 regular City Commission meeting. I just want to check, Val, I didn't actually get to read through all those changes.
Yes,
were
I
made.
actually added some stuff too that I found on my own.
Okay, perfect.
Yes.
Thank you for taking care of that.
Thank you for reading them.
Yes, ma'am. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on the minutes tonight? Seeing none, I'll close public participation. I'll entertain a motion for approval.
So moved. I'll second it.
We have a motion for approval from Vice Mayor Penny and a second from Commissioner Johnson. Any comments needed? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Now we're going to move to our consent agenda, which is items 1 through 4. Would a city commissioner like to remove any item on the consent agenda? The action proposed is stated for each item on the consent agenda. Unless a city commissioner removes an item from the consent agenda, no discussion on individual items will occur, and a single motion will approve all items. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak on any item on the consent agenda? Seeing none, I'll close public participation on the consent agenda, and I'll entertain a motion for approval of the consent agenda items 1 through 4.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve from Commissioner Curry, a second from Commissioner Johnson. No discussion is required. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Now we'll move to our regular agenda, which number 1 is Resolution 2024-R-3. Mr. Walker. Oh, we need to move that, right?
We're going to request
Okay.
that that one actually be continued
Yes.
because the representative for the company is stuck in traffic and not able to be here.
Okay. We needed to move number 2 above it anyways, correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so we're going to go ahead with no objection and move to number 2 on our agenda tonight, which is Resolution 2024-R-4. Mr. Walker.
Yes, Mayor, Commission, there were some items that were not included in the fiscal year '24 budget, and so this is to bring those items into the current fiscal year and request also the use of carry forward funds. If you have any specific questions, our finance director is here. I can discuss any details with you.
Thank you. Mr. Simpson, do you need to read this into the record?
I can. I don't think it's required by law, but I'll go ahead and do that.
Thank you.
Okay. That's a long word. See, resolution number 2024-R-4, by title only for first and only reading. A resolution of City of Holly Hill, Florida, amending the fiscal year 2023-2024 annual operating budget, appropriating project carryover funds for the purchase of an F-350 mini dump vehicle, a utility department rate study, and a Centennial Park and Sunrise Pier renovation, setting forth revenues and expenditures, providing for several buildings, providing for an effective date.
Thank you, Mr. Simpson. Are there any questions for staff from the commission? Seeing none, we'll open this up to the public. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak to the commission on this item tonight? Seeing none, I'll close public participation. I'll entertain a motion for approval.
Motion to approve. Second.
We have a motion and a second. A motion from Commissioner Curry, a second from Commissioner Danio. Is there any further discussion needed? All right, seeing none, we'll take a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? The motion carries unanimously. So, Mr. Walker, you just want to hold off on one until they arrive? Will you let me know when they get here?
If either
No?
that or continue, no, we want to continue the item. Apparently, they're not going to be able to make it.
Okay, so they're not going to be here? Okay. All right, then we'll go ahead and visit this item, which is number 1 on our regular agenda. That is Resolution 2024-R-3. Mr. Simpson, yeah.
So the request is to continue it to the next.
Oh, I thought you said they weren't coming.
No, they would not come.
They're not coming, so they need to continue it.
Oh, you want to continue to another agenda, not the same. Oh, okay. All right, well then. All right. Mr. Simpson, do we need a motion to continue that? Or to table it?
We're just going to go ahead and pull it from the agenda,
Okay.
and then y'all don't need to take any action.
All right.
It'll be put back on.
Hearing no objection to that, we will visit that in our next regularly scheduled commission meeting. Now we'll move to number 3 on our regular agenda, which is Resolution 2024-R-5. Mr. Simpson.
Resolution number 2024-R-5 by title only for first and only reading. A resolution of the City of Holly Hill, Florida, vacating the plat recorded for the property described herein and retaining a permanent utility easement as described herein over a portion of said property, providing for severability, providing for conflicting resolutions, and providing an effective date.
Thank you very much. Mr. Walker.
Yes, Commissioners, you may recall back in July of 2023, the commission approved an ordinance that affected a rezone over an area that is near, it's bounded by 13th Street and Old Kings Road, just behind 1704 North Nova, which is next to Aloha Marine. And that is where you approved a storage facility, a 3-story storage facility, and the area behind that is associated with that and will be used for covered boat and RV storage. Well, the area behind it, which on the screen would be to the left of the kind of the parking lot area along North Nova Road, that area that's wooded is platted for residential. So the Use of storage has already been approved, the zoning for it is already in place. At this point, however, there is an old plat, actually two plats. One is the amended plat of Fleming Park and the Mary C. Fleming subdivision. The first one was approved in March of 1967. The second one was approved in February of 1884.
Oh my God.
So these are old plats, these are antiquated plats, really don't serve the purpose for the area. Given that the commission has approved the zoning, approved the use of covered and uncovered boat and RV storage, the request is to approve a resolution to vacate portions of the amended plat of Fleming Park and Mary C. Fleming subdivision while retaining an easement for utilities. And that is shown in your staff report. A portion would be retained for utilities. So that is the request this evening.
Thank you. Are there any further questions for staff? All right. Would the applicant like to add anything?
Just questions.
Okay. Any questions for the applicant? Seeing none, we'll open this up to the public. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on this item tonight? Seeing none, I will close public participation and I'll entertain a motion for approval.
Second.
We have a motion for approval from Commissioner Johnson, a second from Commissioner Curry. Any discussion needed? We'll take a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? The motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Drive safe.
Thanks.
Stay dry.
All right, now we'll move to number 4 on our regular agenda, which is a request for a code enforcement lien reduction on 18 Timber Trail. Mr. Walker.
Yes, Mayor, Commissioner, I think the easiest thing is just to read this request for a lien reduction. The property located at 18 Timber Trail, Holly Hill, has received several code violations which continued for months, even following repeated requests for compliance and code enforcement action by the city of Holly Hill. Richard Quint from West Avenue Group LLC is the owner of record for the property. The owner was issued a notice of violation on March 9, 2023, and a notice to appear on April 4, 2023 for violations of Section 2661. Special items declared a nuisance. In Section 114-33, Section 2, interpretations of permitted uses and structures. Section 62-27, delinquency penalties, and Section 50-26, sale of personal property within residential zones. All violations were brought into compliance by August 18th of 2023. The order of lien was applied. A special master fee was applied of $250 plus $50 per day per violation against the property. The lien was recorded on the property on July 13th, 2023, and accumulated to $15,800 plus the $250 special master fee for a total lien amount of $16,050. The city manager negotiated with the property owner for an agreed upon settlement of $5,129.18. The specifics of how that number was arrived at are in your staff report, but the request is to reduce the lien to $2,147.66. That's the total lien payoff.
Thank you, Mr. Walker. $2,147.66. Is that right?
Yes.
All right. Thank you. Are there any questions for staff from the commission? Seeing none, we'll open this to the public. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on this item tonight? Seeing none, I'll close public participation and I'll entertain a motion for approval to reduce the lien as staff stated.
Motion. Second.
Hold on, Mayor.
Mayor, okay, so, excuse me, it's a little confusing. This is the staff report that was put together says that the city manager negotiated for a settlement of $5,129.18, and then he has listed that the total lien payoff is $2,147.66. So,
Did he already make a payment?
well, he doesn't indicate that. He says that the recommendation is to approve the negotiated lien reduction of $15,800 down to $2,147.66 to be paid no later than February 9th, 2024.
Val, can you scroll up a little bit? Let's just look at the calculation, then we'll determine what it is.
Well, usually isn't it like around 10%?
Yeah, plus the actual
That
fees.
would make the 2,000
That would be
more
around about
reasonable.
2,000, right?
Yeah. But let me see if I can reach Joe.
But let's just calculate it, because whatever the direct costs are, and then 10% of the actual, if that's 2,000, then that's gonna be the motion I asked for, not 5,000.
10% of the 16,000 is 16.
It doesn't matter what Joe negotiated it.
1,600 plus 300 is.
Well, he just has two different numbers.
Okay.
He says I negotiate a settlement of 5,000.
I see that,
So
yeah.
That's what I heard him say 5,000, then I heard him say 2,000. I was like, wait, you got two different.
That's why I clarified what it was. I can't see that far. Let me pull up my agenda.
I think it makes sense that it's the 2,147 because, as the Vice Mayor stated, the 10% of the 16,050 is $1,605.
That would be 16.
And then you got 277
And then,
to add to that, and then you gotta go down a little farther, and you gotta add, yeah.
So that's right. $2,147.66. We have a motion on the floor and a second on the floor stating that, and that is the recommended motion as well. So unless you want to withdraw your motion.
It's also being paid by February 9th.
Right.
And that's part of the motion too.
Perfect. Yep. Yeah, that's in there. Okay. All right, so we have a motion and a second on the floor. Is there any discussion? Excuse me?
They all kind of spoke the same.
The mover of the motion was Vice Mayor Penny, and the seconder was Commissioner Curry.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. All right, is there any discussion needed? All right, let's vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Now moving to our public hearings, we have one public hearing tonight, and that's ordinance 2024-0-3068 for first reading. Mr. Simpson.
Ordinance number 2024-0-3068 by title only for first reading. An ordinance of the City of Holly Hill, Florida, approving the second major amendment to the Mofkett Saul Business Plan Unit BPUD Development Agreement, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Thank you, Mr. Simpson. Mr. Walker.
Yes, Commission, back in March 11th of 2003, the Commission at that time adopted an ordinance which allowed or approved a rezone of the property that is known as 1190 and 1184 South Nova Road. This is approximately 0.8 acres. It's on the west side of Nova Road South, in the corner of South Nova Road and Alabama Avenue. So the Commission adopted that ordinance for a rezone from B5 heavy commercial, which the property had been annexed into the City of Holly Hill. So that zoning was a Volusia County zoning. And then the zoning of business plan unit development was applied to the property at that time. The property does contain two structures, and at the time it was approved for automobile sales, services, and repairs, and for use as a single-family home. There was a single-family home on the structure, on the property at that time. Then, a couple of years, or a short time later, actually, less than a year, in January of '04, the City Commission approved a major amendment to that BPUD. And that amendment allowed the uses that are stated in the B5 zoning district, and Exhibit A lists out what those additional uses were. Now, over the past 19 years, there have been changes along Nova Road South. The applicant's property now is surrounded by properties that are zoned CC1, and the CC1 zoning district allows greater uses and has more flexibility than the property that is kind of in the center of those uses. So in response to those changes, the applicant has requested to add additional uses to their BPUD and to make adjustments to the development requirements. When I say make adjustments to the development requirements, I mean things such as the setbacks and the minimum building separation. And that's because those development standards for CC1 are more relaxed than what they are for this specific property. So this would kind of bring them into conformity with what's around them. The applicant is requesting to amend the BPUD as follows. The use of a single-family home has been removed. They're asking to add shed sales and display along with all uses in the B6 zoning district. And specific criteria have been added, such as a requirement for any proposed shed use to have a site plan done. Setbacks and minimum building separations have been modified or reduced and are now consistent with those of the surrounding ZC1 zoned properties. The request is consistent with the land development regulations. It's also consistent with the comprehensive plan, principles and policies of the comprehensive plan. Based on that, staff would request that the commission recommend that the commission approve or adopt the ordinance enacting a rezone from business plan unit development to business plan unit development, a major amendment adding uses and modifying specific development standards, and the associated development agreement for approximately 0.8 acres on the west side of Nova Road South, on the corner of South Nova Road and Alabama Avenue, more specifically known as 1190 and 1184 South Nova Road.
Thank you. Yes, Commissioner, you want this?
Brian, is this the property that has existing sheds on it now?
Yep.
Yes.
That's what I have a little bit of heartburn about. So it's not come in, get the proper paperwork and permitting taken care of. We throw the sheds on and then we beg for forgiveness and try to get approval.
That's
Is
right.
that where we're at?
That's
Yep.
exactly right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. And I asked you this earlier, I don't remember the answer. Are there currently any shed sales in Holly Hill? Any uses that you're aware of?
I'm not aware of any properties that have shed sales
Okay.
at this time.
And this, what is before us, I understand that I would have to come back with a site plan for staff, but before us tonight, are we able to limit the amount of sheds that they have through this ordinance here tonight?
If it pleases the board, you can limit how many
Okay.
sheds they have on the property, absolutely.
And
When you're done, I have another
Okay.
question.
And to the commissioner's point, did they, I know this business has been there for several months, did they come in for permission to put it in, or did they do it without staff's knowledge and just go ahead and put the granite company there and the shed company there?
The granite company is actually an approved use. There had been similar uses like that in the past. The use of the sheds was a surprise to staff, and staff had specifically mentioned to them that sheds could not be placed on the property until such time as the commission approved that use.
Okay. And my last question is there currently a code enforcement case against the property or the businesses?
They are currently under code enforcement.
Is it for violating that, or is it for other reasons?
It's for the sheds.
Okay. You had another question?
Thank you.
Am I supposed to move this back and forth? Will it pick up everybody?
No,
It
Yeah,
is?
it'll
Yeah,
pick
they
up.
said
Okay.
it picked up
All right.
last night. Brian, so since there's sheds currently on the property, are they selling the sheds now? I mean,
My impression is that they're using the site to display their inventory, all of their inventory. I think the thought was that if they were approved, that they would maybe demonstrate some samples of the types of sheds that they sold. But at this point, I think what they've done is they've stuck their inventory out there and are selling sheds.
Scott, are we allowed to say until they come back for the proper permitting and the paperwork, are we allowed to say those sheds need to be removed from the property? Because I don't think they should be allowed to have them until they're permitted to have them.
Well, but basically, the city has already said that, enforcement, that's the position we're taking.
So that's why they're in a code enforcement
Yeah, They're
action.
saying that you're in violation, according to what Brian said, that they're in violation because they have they have sheds on the property that's not permitted. So
It's just, that's the way Holly Hill did business 30-plus years ago, or 20-plus years ago. That's not Holly Hill today, and that's what I have a problem with. People think that they can just come in, set up shop, and then if we catch them, we'll beg for forgiveness now, and we'll try to go through the proper channels instead of doing that. First of all, we're one of few cities that happens to, and I'm really getting tired of it. So I want to know what I can do at this point about the sale of items that they're not permitted for.
You know, if you technically look at, this is a quasi-judicial hearing, and so what you're looking for is substantial competence that comply, does the request comply with our comprehensive plan? Their violation of our codes technically is not one of those review criteria which you look at in terms of the comp plan says are they or are they not in compliance. That's not technically listed. But I completely understand the concerns, so there's a couple things I think you could do. One is you could continue the item, say that we don't want to entertain this until they're in full compliance. Two, you could pass it on first reading and say do not bring it back for second reading until they're in full compliance. And I think, yes, the third option, you could go out and say, we're going to deny this because you're violating our codes. And whether or not they would look to challenge that as not competent as substantial evidence to support the violation, but that's really the only grounds that I've heard that would be the basis for saying no. And I think if we were to deny, they can't make a request for a year, right?
I haven't seen that in the code.
Okay. So, it may be better because staff has looked at it and determined that it's consistent. What they want to do is consistent with our comprehensive plan. They just
And I don't have a problem with
and
that.
they jumped the gun and said, and then basically they want to ask for forgiveness instead of ask for permission.
Right.
Basically.
I wouldn't have had a problem in the world had something come before
So-
me
Right.
and that wasn't taking place.
I would probably throw out the two options of either, look, we want to continue this and don't bring it back to us until they're in compliance, or adopt on first reading and say do not bring second reading back to us until they're in compliance. I don't know if Brian has a preference over one of those two, but I think those may be two options.
In compliance meaning what? What are they not in
Sheds would
The
have to
sheds
go.
would have to be removed.
So they can take them all off, and then they're in compliance, and then come back and then try to get them so they go back on.
Right.
Commissioner Danny, they currently have code
No,
enforcement action for that.
No, I get the whole thing, it just seems,
Vice Mayor, do you want this?
Here, I'll just-
Brian, have there been a special master yet?
No.
Okay, so they're basically, they received the violation and they've been given a time, when's their deadline to come into compliance, do you know?
I think that they're approaching the deadline, so I would say I believe it's sometime within the next week or so. It's possible that they've just passed it. I didn't check the latest date, but we're right around that time period.
I've got comments from rather than questions.
Yeah, so do I. You have any more questions?
Not right now.
Okay. Are there any further questions or just comments?
I just could have, I'm the I need a microphone right up. It probably would affect me more than anyone else because I'm probably the closest neighbor. But I can understand they shouldn't be allowed to violate the codes, which I learned kind of the hard way because of the tenants I had. And, but to have new sheds there, when north of them is a new and used tire place, just south of the tire place between them and is a trail sales place, which is similar to the sheds. They have new sheds there that's really not an eyesore, I mean, it looks good, there's no problem. They have the slate or tile or whatever it is. I see them using forklifts to move it around and all. Then south of that, they have a Kennedy's car sales lot. So really, there's no problem with the sheds. I would think it'd be a hardship to make a business move the sheds out, didn't give them permission to bring the sheds back. I could understand that, but to violate the code is wrong, not to do it the way it should be done. But I'm just the type that believes you should cut the business some slack and let them survive, you know what I mean? But I see it all every day, and I don't really see where there's a problem with it. To tell you the truth, I actually look at it.
All right. No. Any further questions? All right, we'll open this up to the public. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak to the commission on this item tonight? All right, seeing none, I'll close public participation. Before I open the floor for a motion, I think, Commissioner Danio, the purpose of those questions, you can correct me if I'm wrong, Commissioner Curry, and my questions, and to you, Mr. Johnson, is because I think I don't have anything against the business. Like you said, I want the business to succeed, but the property owner invited that violation full well knowing that it wasn't allowed, knowing that forgiveness was going to be asked instead of permission. And as Commissioner Curry stated, that is how business was done years and years ago, and it doesn't happen anymore. And I want to make sure it never happens anymore. And so to that end, you know, as Commissioner Curry stated too, I would be welcome if they came before us and asked us this. Now it's exactly like you said, Commissioner Johnson. If we don't agree with sheds being sold on that property, now we have to be the bad guys and feel bad for kicking out those business owners that are renting that location. And so now the impetus is put on us, and it shouldn't be that way. Because if it came before us, just as my questions tonight, and tonight my recommendation is to reduce the amount of sheds that are allowed on there so that we can have a more aesthetically pleasing type business if we're going to allow sheds to be sold. So to her point is that it should have came before us so we could have given the guidelines and told them they need to be this far off of the road, and all of the normal things that all the rest of the business owners that go through the right way of doing things by coming in, speaking to Brian or his staff, speaking to the city manager, getting the okays, making sure everything is legal. And sometimes that means being patient, and maybe it means 3 months worth of rent to that person. But what that does is by cheating, you're only cheating the rest of the people that are following the rules that we have set. And so that, I fully understand your line of questioning, and that's where I'm going with it as well. Yes, Mr. Vice Mayor.
I agree with what has been said, that I wish that the tenant would have followed the rules. But as a business owner, maybe the tenant didn't know the rules, maybe the landlord knew the rules. So I would feel more comfortable moving forward with this. Since it's a PUD, let's see the site plan. Let's see how many sheds are going to be on this place specifically. Right. Let's not approve this and let staff approve the site plan. And let the property's in non-compliance right now. It's in the code enforcement process. So if we don't make any change, if we do nothing tonight, and we continue this to a further meeting, so you get more details about the number of sheds and the placement of sheds, not the exact sheds, because they're going to move. Maybe there's a 12, you can have up to a 12 by 15 here. You can have up to a 20 by 20 here.
Right.
But you're going to have no more than 8, I'm making this up, more than 8 sheds on any particular time. I would feel more comfortable approving something like that sometime in the future. But in the meantime, I get the feeling that the commission wants maybe a pound of flesh. And so the pound of flesh is in the process. They're in the code enforcement process now. If we take no action, they're still in non-conforming tomorrow. They'll end up in special master. And it's probably gonna take 2 months for us to get this situation resolved. So my concern is, as a business owner, to bear the cost to get those sheds there and then to move those sheds and store them and pay someplace to store them and not be able to sell them for 90 days could make that business go bankrupt. And so if we're looking for the pound of flesh, let the code enforcement process take its process, let them go to special master. They won't be in compliance. The special master can fine them $100 a day. That's our pound or our ounce of flesh or whatever it might be. And let us get more detailed information on this PUD so that we're all more comfortable with it. I don't know if that's possible, I don't know if it's legal, but my
Yeah.
thoughts.
Commission?
I think you stated very well, Mayor, my position.
Hey, we agree.
It is amazing. Mark this down in your calendar.
Yeah.
But I would not have had a problem with this business had they followed the rules. That's my whole thing. You don't follow the rules, and I can agree with your position and what you stated. The only concern I have is them still being able to sell those sheds on that property and doing so. That's the only reason why I said something about having them removed. I'm just concerned that they're still going to move forward with selling them. Who cares what the city says? We'll go through their little process. And no, you should not be selling them. And so I don't know what we can do to remedy that, Scott, without making them remove the sheds. I don't want to put any hardship on them, but they shouldn't be selling them. They're not permitted to.
I think the greater question is it the property owner or the business owner who should bear this? I think, like you said, Vice Mayor, the property or the business owner may just be renting and never knew. He might have said, yeah, put the sheds out there.
Right.
Now, ignorance is not an excuse to the law, but
I just
as
don't
Vice
want them to be
Mayor,
able
I
to
feel for them
continue
too.
selling until
Right.
they're permitted to do so.
I hear you.
But if let's say, crazy, let's say a fireworks shop opened up next to the Methodist church. I don't know, Lutheran
Sorry,
church.
John.
And it's not zoned for that. Well, they would go to code violation, they would go to special master, and we couldn't do a cease and desist. So we couldn't stop them from selling their fireworks illegally until they went through the code process. So I understand the frustration. I just don't think we can do anything.
In reality,
I
there's
don't think we can hit them. I don't think you can hit them where you want to hit them without making them go out of business. Because
And I don't want to do that. And I don't want to make them move the sheds, because that's a huge pain.
And I'm sorry, Mr. Daniel has the floor.
I'm sorry.
Mr.
I'm
Daniel,
sorry, John.
Hey,
I'm sorry.
yours.
I don't
I'm sorry, John.
want to open up any old,
I'm sorry.
wounds, but it seems to me like we went through something like this a few months ago with the food trucks. And what did we do? We gave them more time anyway. Didn't they do the same thing?
What do you
Good
mean?
point.
Gave who more time?
I mean,
The
we
food
rewarded
trucks.
them after they went ahead and did stuff that were out of compliance. So we got to be we got to pick a side, guys.
Well, I'm willing to let the code enforcement process go through. Hopefully, they will discontinue selling sheds on the property, because in my humble opinion, that's not going to bode well when they come before us to permit the business if they're continuing that.
And let me share with the commission before I open the floor for a motion that, and when this sprung up, I too, Commissioner Johnson, live right next to it. I actually take Alabama all the time to turn right onto Nova. And several months ago, it just sprung up. And they're very close. If you guys have driven by it, they're
Yeah.
very close to the road, very obstructive viewing. And so I called the city manager and he said, "What are you talking about? There's no sheds there." He had no clue about it whatsoever. After discussing with it again yesterday and today, he stated that once they did speak about it, it was his impression it was more like Home Depot or those type of places where you have, and I believe you talked about this, Mr. Walker, in your presentation, is where you have maybe 2 or 3 different sizes, and then you have a book that says you can get them in this color and with this roof and that. That would be something that I would feel would be a lot better for that property, and something I would like to see. So now, I don't want to right now set those criteria, but what you said, Vice Mayor, when we make the motion, I would like to be able to see the site plan as well so that we can determine how many are going to be on there and where they're going to be so that they're not right on the road. Yes, Vice Mayor.
Here's my concern. Scott, correct me if I'm wrong.
So my idea would be to pull and take no action on this item tonight and bring it back at a later date with the site plan. My concern is that if we approve this, then there's going to be a zoning change in process which would give them leniency
Pause.
with the special master.
Good question.
So
Did
should
you
we
hear what I
just
said?
continue it?
So if we approve this on first reading and tell them to come back with more details, and they go to the special masters, they're gonna say, oh, well, the commission is changing, and the special master's gonna go, yeah, they are changing, so we'll give you more time. Whereas if we take no action tonight and bring this back at some time in the future, there would be nothing on the table with special master, they would continue.
Well,
Am I
I'm
wrong?
going to address some issues about the details. I'm not sure what you're referring to as a site plan. Site plans don't go back and forth, body.
Not a site plan, I want to see,
You're talking about the attached development plan to the PD.
I want to see there's no more than 8
But-
sheds on the property at any given time.
Wait a second, though. We've seen layouts of, when
On
PUDs come
PUDs,
before
you
us,
see-
we can see where those are, what type of
You see-
structures
you
they are,
see-
what
you
use
see
of the property.
Development plans attached to PDs, those are not site plans.
Right.
Just wanna get
Okay.
the right
And
terminology.
I'm
All right,
using the
all right.
wrong terminology,
Yeah.
you're correct, but I want to see how many sheds are going to be on this property.
You know, we can come back with a more detailed site plan or development plan, I'm using the wrong terminology. More detailed based on whatever y'all say. But the issue about if the special master holds off on enforcing or not enforcing, I mean, it kind of goes back to, do you want them to have to take those sheds off before you approve?
I don't personally,
Well, then why do you care what the special master does?
because the special master will, they're not in compliance and the special master will fine them $50 a day and they'll end up having to pay some type of punitive damage for violating the rules.
And they'll have to move those sheds to get the fine to stop,
Not
Or
if
this
we
body
change the rules.
unless you change the
If we
rules.
change the rules before they remove them, they would now be in compliance under their rules.
So that would give them incentive to get the site plan or development plan submitted.
I think that what would happen is if they went to special master, they would explain to the special master that they're going through the process of a rezone, and the special master would very likely hold off on finding them pending the results of their request to rezone the property.
But can we ask the special master to rule on it, and if we don't make the changes, the fines go back to the first day?
Retroactively?
Well, they go back to the way it works with special magistrate, they will say, you're in violation and you're given so many days to come into compliance. And they aren't retroactive.
Okay.
So they'll give so many days to come into compliance, and determining those number of days would most likely take into time, how long will it take the city to decide whether they're going to rezone.
So should we just make a motion to continue this item?
I'm not 100% sure what you're trying to accomplish, to be perfectly honest with you. If a majority of you don't want to make them remove the sheds, then what I would do is consider, but there's some discussions about more details needed in the site plan, that maybe you approve it tonight with direction that these details, you know, discuss, you and Brian can discuss this, the details you want to see in there, and then bring that back for second reading, and the level of details. But Or, I don't, there's language in here that talks about if we deny something, they may not be able to bring it back for a year. So I don't think denying's a good idea. And I'm not sure.
That's
if
why
we
I
want
said
this-
continuing it.
If you
Well-
could continue it, if you want to do first reading again, to make them, bring it back for first, the improved or enhanced site plan,
Well-
development plan for first reading. But it can also be between first and second reading. There's another reading that has to occur.
So, let me throw something out. We always say that the goal of code enforcement is compliance, right? And I don't think any of us like the number of sheds or the position of the sheds. So my first thought was to continue it, let's see if we can find them. Sounds like we're not gonna get a pound of flesh. We're not gonna get an ounce of flesh. They're never gonna be fined. But if our goal is to come into compliance, then we should approve this at first reading, as Scott has said, and have second reading come back with more details, because if we kick this down the road for another 2 weeks or another month, they're gonna be out of compliance that much longer. So if we approve it tonight with direction to staff to come back with, we wanna see a development agreement showing how many sheds and where they're gonna be, we can get, and then when we approve it if we approve it at second reading, and they don't come into compliance within 10 days, now we can spank them. But right
Well, I
now,
think the only thing that they would have to do, once you approve, if you were to approve the rezoning request, the amendment, then all they need to do is pull the business tax receipt.
Oh,
That's the only thing they would need to do to come into compliance, other than move the.
If,
no, but
six to
if,
the-
let's say they had 30 sheds and we only
Right.
allow them 10, they gotta take 20 sheds away,
Right.
right?
Yes.
This is their effort to come into compliance.
okay,
They got code enforced.
if we approve this tonight and we have them bring back more detailed site plan, then we don't have a chance at that point, because it's the second reading, if we want to make changes to said site plan, that we don't like how many sheds that they're trying to put, or we need to change something about that, then we're just going to be kicking it down again, because it's not going to be approved if we want changes.
Can we approve it with?
So I say, why don't we just make them bring back that information on the first reading, and then we'll have the ability to look it over, make any changes or not make any changes, and then second reading, all that's hashed out.
Is the applicant here?
is the applicant in the audience?
No, he's not.
Can we make a
Okay.
second reading, can we make a motion with,
I would highly
Adjustments?
recommend that the applicant come to the next meeting, that this is entertained, so that it is a PUD in negotiation,
Yeah.
and we can discuss it at the floor and make that decision then.
He was told he needed to be here.
He was told he needed to be here.
I mean, I
He's got people fighting for him, and he didn't want to be here.
well, and I
Well, you just,
Touche.
I mean, I'm fine if y'all want to continue this till, but I would like for y'all to come back with a consensus on this is what we would like to see in the site. plan.
Right.
Or we could do it between first and second reading. If we got the second reading and you weren't happy with the site plan, then you could still say, no, we're not passing.
Continue.
That's why, wouldn't it just be cleaner to
Yeah.
continue it? Have them bring the information back for the first reading.
You're still
We
looking at
can
three
hash
readings.
out whatever we need to hash out. If anything, we might not. And
But
then
you're still looking at
second
three
reading,
readings.
it's just done.
But you're still looking at you're still looking at three meetings tonight, and first reading again and second reading, or tonight.
I just don't see the benefits of voting on the first reading tonight. What are
We
the
can do either one.
benefits?
You're not gonna save anything, you're still gonna have 2 more meetings potentially from tonight. If he doesn't, if the next meeting, if you're not satisfied with the site plan and you ask for more changes, those will have to be brought back between first and second reading at the next meeting.
how about we can, the applicant's not here, we continue because he's not here, tell him he better be here next time or we're gonna deny it.
If he didn't
Yeah, I
want to
agree.
take time out of his day to be here, it wasn't that important to him, I don't think I
Well,
need to vote
but
on
I-
first reading.
I think you all should give direction to Brian, what you all want to see in the site plan. I still think that's a good idea.
Oh, that's probably
I
important.
think, just so when it comes back next time, we've attempted, or the applicant has attempted to address your concerns.
And I
I
agree,
agree.
Scott, my concern is, I don't have a visual overlay of that property with where those sheds are. So I don't,
Yeah,
it looks like visual clutter when you drive by
Yeah.
at 35 miles an hour.
It does.
Okay, well, can we generally, and
Yeah.
I'm speaking for Brian here, and I don't want to, but I think it'd be helpful to say, okay, these are the things we want to see improved.
right. And
Based on your visual observations of the site.
And I laid out one earlier, and we talked about this, Mr. Walker, city manager and I have spoken about this, is that you have those samples on site. So you have a couple different sizes, you have a book to show them what different colors, what different, that then, those would not be on the Nova, right on Nova Road, because that's too close to Nova Road. Those would be back where the building is, where the rest of that parking lot is back. That's what personally I would like to see with the sheds. As it relates to the granite business, I'm not sure if we can dictate that those are also moved off of the street as well. But also it needs to be addressed that the current business there is also out of compliance with several different yard signs that are right out front of the business advertising the business. And so if they're going to have temporary signage, they need to have the proper permits for that and go through that. That's personally what I would like to see when this comes back to us. Vice Mayor, do you want this?
No,
You can talk loud.
I think I'd go the other way, Brian. I'm sorry. I'd let the applicant tell us what he wants to do that would be most attractive. Because as a business owner, if someone wants to buy a shed, and they're like me, and they want to decide on Friday they're going to buy a shed, they're going to buy a shed on Saturday. And the more inventory he has, the better. I understand that, because if he's got a blue one and my wife wants a yellow one, and he doesn't have it, we're going to go to Home Depot and get the yellow one. So I understand the importance, and I don't want to dictate how much inventory he wants. I would like him to bring us a proposal. This is the most attractive way to position sheds that I can make a living. Because if we dictate that he can only have 4 sheds and 6 books with options, he might go out of business. So I want it to be his proposal with his blessings that we can then agree or disagree with.
I could go
Because
for that.
I'm
yeah.
not a shed salesman.
Yeah.
My friend Robin has a trailer sales over here. I asked him why he has 100 trailers on there. He has as many as he can, because if someone wants one with an option and he doesn't have it, they're going down Nova Road to buy one. So I don't think we should sit here and dictate how he runs his business. He should make his business as attractive and as appealing to Nova Road as he can, and then we can either agree or disagree with him.
Yeah, I stand corrected. Yeah. Well, good point.
I have a suggestion.
Yes.
It's common in these types of situations to delineate an envelope and say, this is the area, we've looked at the site, we know where your parking is, we know where your drive aisles are, we know where your vegetation is, your entrances and your exits, and we delineate on the site plan an envelope or an area, a bubbled area, where sheds can be displayed. That way, you're staying away from a specific number, because 2 sheds that are 30 by 20 are different than 2 sheds that are 10 by 10.
True.
So it gives them the flexibility to be able to display different types of sheds in different sizes, but they all occur within that specific envelope.
True.
So that's my suggestion
Yeah.
to use to how it handle.
But I like that, but I also would like to go a step further, and I think we're kind of on the same line with this, my concern is public safety, if you will, for the visibility of traffic. So I don't think that they need to be right up on Nova Road.
Right.
So that's my concern.
That's the
Yeah.
Well, that's the envelope.
Okay.
That would be solved by the envelope. So if the envelope
So-
is pulled back
Okay.
25 feet from Nova Road, then you have no sheds that are
Okay.
close to Nova Road.
Yeah.
Sounds like a good
Which
So
at
idea.
least meet the setbacks, whatever the setbacks are for Nova Road, right?
Well, the setbacks are pretty small.
Are they?
So, yeah.
It's a pretty tight
Okay.
property.
But we have to be concerned for that. I mean, that's concern for future of traffic and pedestrians and whatever else is going on there.
Right.
And to your point, Commissioner, there are for signs, visibility triangles. And those are specifically designed for areas that are at intersections, which this is. It's on a corner.
Right.
So if we apply that same principle to the sheds, because the wall of a shed
Right.
could be determined to be
A wall.
a sign,
Yeah.
a sign-like object, then we would consider that in the envelope. So if it pleases the board, I can get with them to do a site plan, show an envelope, and then however many sheds they can get in that envelope,
Yeah.
that's it. But
Yeah.
this is the area that you can do it in and nowhere else.
Mayor,
And bring that back
I
to
like
you.
his
Yeah.
suggestion.
Are you good with that, John?
Yeah, so and that's kind of what I was meaning, is like, let's show where they're
Yeah,
gonna be.
yeah.
So do we need a motion to continue this to the next meeting?
Mr. Simpson?
Yes.
Yes? All right, I'll entertain a motion to continue this item to the next regular scheduled commission meeting. Or wait, hold on, should we set that time certain to that? Because if they can't do it within that time frame,
It doesn't give them very much time.
Right.
I would
withdraw it?
Just withdraw it.
well, we don't have a motion on the floor to withdraw.
I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah, we could just
I
remove
didn't
it.
speak.
vote the second meeting.
Just remove it from the agenda?
I mean, he doesn't have to advertise the first meeting anyway, right?
Yeah, he's required to for the first reading.
Hmm,
So, I would suggest the first meeting in February,
Okay.
okay.
as date certain.
All right, if someone would like to make that motion? All right, we have a motion from Commissioner Johnson to continue this item to the first regularly scheduled commission meeting in February. Do we have a second? We have a motion from Commissioner Johnson, second from Commissioner Curry. Is there discussion needed? All right, let's vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? The motion carries unanimously to continue the item to the first meeting in February. Thank you very much. Now we'll move to communications. And I'll start off tonight. We need to appoint a citizen of the year. And I know some of you may have someone in mind, so I'll open up the floor for a motion for citizen of the year.
I'd like to nominate Kim Lawson. I sent
Bless you.
an email to the city manager last week, and I think he disseminated that to you, so.
Yep.
And I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second for the citizen of the year being Kim Lawson, the owner of Gina's,
Simply.
Simply Gina's on Ridgewood. And John, if you'd like to say a few things she's done, because she's done several things for our community. You want the mic?
I don't even have my email. Yeah.
Thank you. Kim's been the owner of Simply Gina's for several years. And one of the first things she did was she bought a house in Holyoke, which is admirable. I think our city would be better if more business
She
owners.
flooded
Yeah.
during the hurricane.
If more business owners lived in our city. During COVID, she made sure that no child went hungry. And she's part of an organization, I think it's called No Hungry Kids. Whenever there's an emergency, a hurricane, she makes sure that all the first responders are fed at no cost. And if anyone goes in and she hears them say that their power was out, there's no bill for them. Thanksgiving is one of the busiest days at her store, and she works it all by herself because 100% of the sales, not the cost and not the profit, but 100% of the sales and the tips, she then donates as Christmas presents to Holly Hill families. She does many more things in our community, and when I sent the email to Joe, he goes, well, she's a business. I said, yeah, she is a business, but she's a sole proprietor of business, and her name isn't on the sign, but it's Kim's Place. And then he said, well, maybe you should recommend her for the business of the year.
Citizen of the year.
No, for the business of the year. She
Oh,
should
right.
recommend her for the business of the year. And I said, well, there already is a business of the year, and historically, the Chamber of Commerce has selected that. And Simply Gina's was not a member of the Chamber of Commerce, so they were not eligible to be the business of the year. So I think these things, even though she's a business, she pays the bills. So all this is coming out of her pocket. She's the last one to get paid as a business owner. So I highly recommend her. We had some other admirable applicants too. And so but Kim has been on my mind a lot lately. I eat there I have breakfast there at least twice a week. My Kiwanis Club is there, and I have Friday morning club. And a couple of you in the audience, every time I'm there, I see you there, so at least one of you guys.
Yeah.
That's
She's
it.
also on the fire,
Oh, yeah, she's on our
Our police-
police pension board.
Yep.
said fire, police.
All right, thank you. Would anybody from the audience like to speak on the motion tonight? Seeing none, I'll close public comments. Thank you for that nomination. And two, the business of the year this year is well deserving. Fast Signs with Carmen there. Many of you know her, and she does an amazing job for our community as well. She doesn't live in our city, but she really, really loves this city and helps our police department tremendously as well. So this is a good nomination, and thank you for making it. Any further discussion? All right, let's vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, the motion carries unanimously. Yes, sir.
This is a public record and no secrets, but if you see her, don't tell her yet. If you see her in the restaurant, please don't tell her.
Yeah, let's
Kinda wanna
surprise her.
Be a little
Yeah.
surprise for her, so.
Well, how about we bring her to the next commission meeting?
Well, I don't
Can we
know
get
how-
her here under some
I don't
guys?
know how we're gonna
And
recognize them this year. Because
I know, 'cause
the
it's
chamber,
different,
All that
yeah.
stuff, so just, I think if we can just keep it kind of close to the
To the
chest right
chest,
now
yeah.
and just surprise
But
them.
maybe
And
if
if
we
we
could
need
get
her
it-
in here, I can get her in.
if we could get it by the next commission meeting, though, we could present her with a thing. I know usually we
Yeah,
do
but
it at
what
the
are we
state
gonna
of
do
the
for Carmen?
city.
Like,
Yeah. Well, we could do something, her too, at the same time.
Well, there's
I mean-
plaques and stuff that have to be
Right,
made.
yeah, we gotta get
So,
plaques and,
But we usually do that at the state of the city, right?
Yeah, but.
But don't we usually let them know prior and then, because we usually do it in December, and then they're allowed to be in the parade? Or at least we did that last
We
year
only
with the
did it
parade.
1 year.
Okay.
That was last year, that was.
Because we can-
All right, well, that's a good idea. Let's think of a
Let
way
Joe figure it
to
out.
surprise her. Yeah, let Joe handle that. That's why we pay him the big bucks.
That's right.
All right, that was a good way to end this meeting, and another good way to end this meeting is I want to say thank you, Chief. Today is January 9th, which is National Law Enforcement Appreciation Day, and to you, Commissioner Curry, I know you worked for the police department for many years, and your husband, the sheriff's office, and our own police department here, so thank you to everyone who served, but especially, Chief, to all of our men and women who serve this city here day in and day out. The courage and sacrifice is very, very appreciated. I know I speak for all of us
Absolutely.
with that. And I always say that Law Enforcement Appreciation Day should be every day, but it's good that we recognize it today. So thank you very much for that. I want to make sure that we say that. And with that, I'll go over to Mr. Walker, our Assistant City Manager. Do you have anything for us tonight?
Just an informational item. It had come up, I believe at the last meeting, the issue with regard to the improvements related to the Mirage Pond, and the question came up with regard to the cost for CEI. We have found out that it would be $22,000, and Mead and Hunt would be the ones who would be performing that service, the inspections related to the improvements for that pond.
Meaning more than what we approved at the last meeting?
I believe it was an additional item that the commission, we knew it had to be done, but I don't think we knew the cost.
And we didn't think it was
So-
30 or something.
But Antoine with Public Works can give you more detail on that.
Mr. Curry, the floor is yours.
This is for contract management, CEI, and approval of shop drawings. That means a contractor has to submit things for the designer to approve. So this is about $22,000 to do that. All of that goes in the contract, and getting this contractor on the contract because we waived the requirement and we didn't have a contractor. So that's the purpose of this $22,000.
So do we have to bring it back for a budget amendment, or is it
No,
because it's under
in the
Joe's?
budget. We have plenty of money.
Okay, all right. Any further questions for Mr. Curry? Thank you very much, Mr. Curry. Mr. Walker, floor is
Yeah,
yours.
That was it, just informational, and then as Mr. Curry stated, it's already in the budget We just weren't sure of the amount, so
Okay.
just wanted to let the commission know the amount.
Thank you very much. Mr. Simpson?
I actually do have one thing.
Hey, there we go.
What?
That's why I always ask.
I received something today, email, and I forwarded it on to the cities I represent. There is what it was is a proposed resolution. The city, some law firm is, in essence, soliciting cities to see if they can get cities to join in to file suit to challenge the Form 6 financial disclosure requirement that goes into effect this year, as opposed to Form 1 that local governments. They are looking for 10 cities to join, or individual elected officials. They would charge each, they're looking for 10, it's $10,000 per city or elected official, so they're looking for $100,000 total. I'm not aware of this law firm. I have not looked into their legal basis for challenging. Joe just thought, I think Joe's email to me was, I don't think we're interested, but you can advise the commission tonight.
Thank you. And before you go further, I would just caution this commission, although we don't like it, it is a requirement right now. We have to, for the audience that does not know, every year, any elected official or board member in the state of Florida, local elected, below county, has to file a Form 1 requirement, which just basically explains in a nutshell your finances or any debts that you may have to people, which I think is important to know. And then, so just this past year, now we will all be under a Form 6, which is a higher requirement, which is required by any state official or county official, which then dollar by dollar, you have to announce all of your finances, the number of debt, the income, where your income sources are. All of those will be public record. And although there are many public officials, local elected officials, there's an exodus of commissioners and mayors.
100 or more.
Yeah, over 100 that are resigning to not do that. And I do believe it was an overreach. Could have waited until the term was over, so that way the people running knew what they were getting into. There's many professions like lawyers that can't disclose certain clients' income and things of that nature. But nonetheless, it's there. And let me just remind this commission that we just received over $2 million last year from the state, which was signed by the governor, which was signed by the House and the Senate. And I would advise us not to be involved with this, even if personally we don't like it or agree with moving forward. So I will be against supporting joining this lawsuit, especially as we continue to seek appropriations.
I don't.
I don't think anyone disagrees with you.
Okay, all right.
Can I just say, I think
You can
it's,
say what you want, yeah.
I think it's kind of, I don't know, trying to wrap my head around an $8,000 a year job to pay $10,000 to sue to get $20,000 worth of fines if you screw up. What a country we live in.
And I was not bringing it to you to advocate for it, but Joe just thought I should make sure everybody was aware of it. And all you gotta, there may be a city on their own goes and challenges it anyway.
Yeah.
Big city may
I think there will
challenge
be,
it.
yeah.
I think there's probably a pretty strong lobbying effort to try to change it. And if they get 10 cities to join in and they win, we get the benefit of it.
Yeah. Not our fight, though. They passed the state law, and we will abide by it, and the law is the law. So thank you very much for that. We also were going to discuss the direction of the city annex building. I would recommend that we wait until Joe, because he's been knee-deep in the negotiation of that, unless someone else feels strongly. All right, I see a lot of shaking heads, so we will just move on from that. And that's it for me, but tonight we're going to go with you first.
Well,
then you're gonna
thank
pass
you.
it
That's
to
because
him.
I agreed with you.
Then we're going to go Johnson, and yeah.
Is that what it was?
That's what it is.
I just want to thank everybody for coming out. I wish everybody a happy new year. I appreciate all the healthy discussion we continue to have. And we can still leave out of here as friends, so it's always good. And you said he was next?
Yeah. Doing it different, because it's easy with the mic.
Yeah.
Thank you. We had our Volusia League of Cities board meeting today. We have our bi-monthly meeting in Lake Helen on January 25th. I don't know if anyone's planning on going to that dinner. But the discussion was that I believe there's going to be a ballot initiative that the state proposes, an additional $25,000 homestead exemption.
Oh, yeah.
And I got with Joe, and I don't know how it affects our city, but we compare ourselves to South Daytona all the time. And it's not, as people say, it's a tax savings, it's a tax shift.
Yeah.
And in the city of South Daytona, if they don't pass that shift to someone else, it's a difference of $523,000 annually in ad valorem taxes. And their city is about the same size as ours. They currently have 196 people that pay no property tax at all. That would more than double and go to 445 residences. So something to think about, something we might need to get our finance department looking at. But it could have a huge impact because if it's put on a ballot, I don't know anyone that's going to vote against it. So we might as well plan for the worst and start thinking about next year's budget sooner than later.
Well said. Commissioner Johnson?
There you are.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I'd just like to wish everyone not just a happy new year, but a happy whole entire 2024, because I think it's gonna be a good year. Last year was a little bit rough, and this year the weather might be a little bit rougher than last year, but I think it's gonna do good. I just got to thinking too, a lot of times we think we have it rough, we have it tough, but if you look at someone around you that has it, you just don't know what they're going through. Just like, for instance, I have a really, really close friend that I work with, and he has a 10-year-old daughter, which you can relate to that. She fell off a horse and had a slight injury, so they took her to the hospital. She got an x-ray. So they're getting this x-ray, which was a blessing. She fell off the horse. They found a dark spot in her stomach. So they figured it was like slight cancer stomach or something like that. So they kept doing more and more and more investigation. Finally, she went to Arnold Palmer Hospital. And as of yesterday, I think it was, or maybe last week, they determined she has stage 4 colon cancer.
Wow.
10-year-old little girl.
Jeez.
So our company started yesterday a GoFundMe page for her. And started yesterday, and as of this morning, they'd already collected $33,000.
Wow.
Wow, that's awesome.
That is a great thing. So just think, how you don't, unless you have a problem like that, you really don't have a problem. You know? So
Amen.
it's count your blessings, say a prayer, and things will work out for you. And
Amen.
thank everyone, and have a great 2024. I believe it's going to be a good one. And congratulations to Brian Walker as our Assistant City Manager. And tonight, he was actually our city manager.
Yeah.
Mr. Johnson, years and years ago, my wife and I went to a disciple class, and there was an old wise man that had a saying, you think you got it bad when you got no shoes until you meet the man who's got no feet. I always think about that. Great day at the groundbreaking at the fire station.
Yeah.
Looking forward to that. And I just want to thank you guys, all you guys, and even some of my audience for praying for me on my depression there during December. I had a hard time, but I'm back, and I appreciate that. So,
And that's awesome to hear.
yeah, thanks. Other than that, let's go.
Amen. All right. Well, on that note, we do wish you all a wonderful 2024. And is there any further business before this commission? Seeing none, this meeting is adjourned.
I'll see you guys.
Wait, folks.